Okay, in this video, we're going to actually start manipulating numbers and working with them and combining them and doing all the sorts of interesting things. And this is all centered around the mathematical operators and the different ones. And so that's what we're going to talk about is what are these operators and how do we use them to work with these numbers. So let's get to it. So these are actually all of the operators that are available to you built in. And when I say built the operators, I mean they're kind of not necessarily all of the mathematical operations that you can do, but the actual operators. So that plus sign, the subtraction sign, the division sign. So we're going to go over what each of these mean and how they interact with numbers and those types of things. Yeah, I mean this is pretty. If you've done any type of basic math up through probably geometry, you've probably covered most of these things. So addition is combining two numbers. Subtraction is the subtraction of one number from another. Division is how many times does one number go into another number. Multiplication is how many times you take one number times another. Integer division, well, that's a little bit interesting. And we'll go over what exactly that means, but that's essentially how well does that, or how many times does one number evenly divide into another? The modulus is similar. How many times does it evenly divide and then give you the remainder that's in there? And then exponentiation, that is, a number to the power of another number. So let's work with these. In my module 4 folder, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this operators, actually numerical operators .py. Remember, if dunder name is equal to dunder main. So let's first do addition. Pretty simple addition. So result is equal to 3 plus 9 in there. Next results, let's do is equal to -3 plus 4.0. So this one's pretty simple. We should expect to see 12 out of this. We'll put a script complete here. This one's interesting because you're taking an integer and you're adding a negative integer and you're adding a float to that negative integer. Well, that works in Python. And let's kind of see how that works. So we're going to debug this guy again, put a breakpoint right here, and boom. Run and debug, Python file. And we're going to step through this, and we can see over here, results is equal to 12. And that is an integer that's in there. Okay, let's step over this guy again. Hey, result is 1, but this time it's a floating point number that's in there. And so that's how that works. Pretty self-explanatory there. Results is now equal to -3 plus 4.0. Let's stop this right here, rerun it, and debug. Let's see what this does. So now we're doing some subtraction. Whoops, I wanted to subtract here. So let's stop this, rerun this, step over, and that's -7. Pretty much what we would expect that to be. All right, let's play around with this a little bit more. We can even do a -10.0 minus 4. That's in there. Stop that. Rerun that. Step, and step. So that's 14, -14. All right. So that's pretty simple there. Let's show some of the other ones. So multiplication. Let's do result is equal to 4 times 3. And then let's do another one. Result is equal to 6 times negative 2.3 or 2.1. Just put 2.1 in there. Now let's see what that does. So rerun this guy again. Let's set a breakpoint here because we know all the other ones work. And then step over this guy. Hey, that's 12. That's what we would expect it to be. Now that's 12.6000001. So there's that floating point error again. And so there's some error that we kind of need to be aware of. So floats, no matter what type of operation, whether it's addition or multiplication or division, they're always going to inherently have that potential error to them that's in there. All right, let's move on to the next operator. Division. Result is equal to 4 divided by 2. And then let's do result is equal to 8 divided by 3.0. Run and debug this guy again. Let's take away this breakpoint, put it right there. Continue until we get there. Execute this guy. So that's 2. Now wait a minute. This is interesting. We did an integer division dividing an integer. So 2 divides into 4, or 4 divided by 2. But we got a float. Why is that? Well, because when you do division, this case, the division was even. There was no remainder. But what if we did 2 divided by, or 4 divided by 3? Let's rerun that and see what that does. 1.333333. So by default, it will give you, when you do division, the floating point value when you do that division that's in there. If you didn't want that, so say you wanted 4 divided by 3, and you only wanted to know how many times evenly, or how many times it actually goes in there, and not any of the remainder, well, then you could do integer division, which is result is equal to 4 divided by 3, like that. Let's go ahead and set a breakpoint there, rerun our script, execute this guy, and now we see that that's 1. But we know that we're missing something there, and what if we wanted to know what that remainder was, but we didn't want it necessarily as a float? Well, then we could do result. Well, let's do this. Remainder is equal to 4 modulo 3. Let's rerun this guy again. Now, this is 1, so 3 goes into 4 at least one time, and it has a remainder of 1. That's in there. Let's try that again. Let's instead do 5 by 3. So 1 and a remainder of 2. Could help if I updated both of them in there. And the remainder is 2. There we go. So that's how you do kind of the different types of division that's in there. and the kind of the way that you handle those. What's going to happen if we do this? Well, in math, what happens? If you take 5 divided by 0, what happens? Well, it's not defined, right, in mathematics. Let's see how Python handles this. Oops. Uh-oh, we got an error. Okay, let's debug our error here. So which file did we have our error in? Well, numerical operators. Okay, that's good. That's where we expected it to be because that's the file we ran. On what line did we have the error? Line 28. Okay, so we can look back here and we'll scroll and see, okay, here's line 28. So this is my issue right here. Okay, here's what the code is. Now, what error did we get? We got a 0 division error. And what is the message that we got? Division by 0. Pretty self-explanatory. Well, so the way that Python handles something that is undefined is, well, they raise an undefined. You get an error. That's a part of that. So that's kind of how that works. Let's talk about now the last one, which is exponentiation. I am probably spelling that wrong. Anyways, so result is equal to 2 to the 3. That should be 8. And then this is going to be interesting. What do you think this is? Wait a minute. If you think about back in geometry days, if you do the exponent of a fraction, that's essentially the root of that. So the 9 to the 1/2, or 1 over 2, is the same thing as the square root of 9. Or if you do 9 to the 1/3, that's essentially going to be the third root of that. So let's see how that would work. 1 divided by 3, like that. Okay, let's run this. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Oh no, 0 division error. That's right. We'll just get rid of that, rerun our script, and move on our merry little way. Here we go. Result 8. It's exactly right. That's exactly what we would think it is. So 2 to 3 is 8. Now 9, square root of that should be 3. Exactly. You know what? Let's stop this and let's do 27 instead of there. So it's actual root in there, and let's see how it handles that. We got our 8, 3, now 3 again, and there we go. So this actually leads into something that's somewhat interesting, is order of operations here. So why didn't it do 27 to the 1 and then divide that by 3? For example, why didn't it do that? Or did it do that just because, we talked about how operators operate from right to left, meaning that the right operates on the left-hand number. So maybe it's just because, 3 divided by 1 does that. Well, let's see. Rerun our number here, or rerun our script, and boom, and wait a minute, we get 9 this time. What? We get 9. Well, so that's where order of operations is kind of really, really important. And so I want to tell you that here is the precedence of your operations. So no matter what, anything inside of a parentheses, that's always going to be executed first. Now, it will operate in the left to right, meaning that the operators will always be the right-hand side operates onto the left-hand side, but in which order those operators happen is based off of this. So anything inside of a parentheses, that's what happens. Then next up is your division, your multiplication, division, integer division, and modulus. Those are what's next. Then your addition and subtraction. Now, there's actually one in here that I think I missed, and that's the power. And so power should actually be in between 1 and 2 here. And so that's what's happening in this case. So the power takes precedence over your division. So it's going to be 27 to the 1, which is 27. And then divide that by 3, and you get 9. So 27 divided by 9, or 27 divided by 3 is 9. But if we do 27 to the 1/3, then we get the result of 3 there. So that's how that works in there. All right, so in this class, we've learned about all the different operators, that the basic operators for the numbers that's in there. Next up, we're going to round this out and talk about some other math functions that you can mess around with by importing the math module, and then also some of the interesting number methods that we have. So come and check that out in the next video.